Beauty from the Shelf is a podcast where industry experts fill in the gaps that are integral to growth for early stage beauty founders and brands. And today's episode includes a conversation with a super special friend and founder. I'm joined by Beatrice Dixon. Beatrice Dixon is the co-founder, CEO, and Chief Innovation Officer and the face of the Honey Pot Company. She wears many hats. And Honey Pot Company is a vagina and human wellness brand that focuses to destigmatize how people talk about vaginas. And just a heads up, we do say vagina a couple times in this episode, so just get ready. And this episode is extremely special to me because I met Bea in 2015 when I was a buyer over sanitary protection at Target. I found out about the brand when I was getting my locks retightened, and I was specifically looking to find Black-owned brands that were doing things that I felt were innovative in the categories that I owned. And my loctician directed me to Bea, and as they say, the rest is history. In this episode, we talk about growth, we talk about challenges, but we also get personal. We talk about how some of the things and the choices that we make in life can impact us, and how as a founder, we are business people, but you're also human. It's a really, really personal episode, like I said, but it also hits home for me, and I think you all will find a lot of value from it. Let's get into today's episode. So I am the co-founder, CEO, and Chief Innovation Officer, as well as the face of the Honey Pot Company. I've been saying that a lot this week, and I'm always like, wow, that's a lot of jobs to be having all at one time. But I'm very grateful to hold these hats. Honey Pot is a vagina and human body wellness brand that really focuses very hard to kind of destigmatize how humans think about their vaginas. And also, we make really beautiful, efficacious, clinically tested and proved, dermatologist tested and approved vulva care and body care. And so very, very grateful to be able, to do all the things that we do. But I think that kind of sums up what we do.
Okay, I love it. It's also awesome to be able to have this conversation, because I feel like in 2015, when we first met, these kinds of conversations weren't happening. The language was very different. There's a lot that's happened that has allowed this category to be talked about in this way. I feel like you all very much have championed this. Do you feel like that's something you did intentionally? Do you feel like that's something that kind of came as a result of who the Honey Pot Company is?
I think a little bit of both, to be honest. I think we have intentions, and we've had intentions to change the way humans kind of identify with their vaginas, and also to kind of decolonize how humanity thinks about vaginas, right? And I don't necessarily say decolonization in the way that we're used to, but honest, that is a part of it too, right? And I think that we've been conditioned in this world, in this society, where kind of prior to the work that we've done and the work that some of our comrades, otherwise known as competitors, I don't call them competitors, but, the work that we've all done to being able to be on a podcast talking about vaginas, I think that it's like a collective thing. I think humans have also made that possible. Young people today really want to be able to talk about these things. Young people today want to understand what they're using, want to understand what it's being used for. They don't want stigma. They don't want you telling them what their sex is, what their race is, what their anything is. I think they want to just be human and then be a being and just enjoy themselves, and live their life. And so I think it's just kind of a collective of everything, but it's the work that we've been doing from the start. And we've been doing this for 10, 11 years. And anything that's done for that long, is just going to start to stick, especially when it's
perfect practice of doing something.
So, what has been one of the hardest things to grow through as a brand?
Look, I think the hardest thing to go through is to grow, and like all the stuff that comes from that. Like, there's the growing pains, there's like changes that happen, there's money, there's like relationships, there's like so many things that are constantly ebb and flowing. One day is fantastic, another day can be freaking awful. I almost said the F word. Another day can be like crazy, like all kinds of stuff happens and you're just like, what is going on? I mean, being in business is hard. Like with AI, like how it can kind of eventually just take on its own thing, and it can be like uncontrollable. I think with business, it can be the same way. You put so many inputs in. Hopefully the inputs in are good data. So then the output can be good data too. But like sometimes you don't know that you put bad data in, right? And I'm using data not like in the context of like exact data, but just with whatever all those buckets are that I just mentioned. You don't know if there's a cog missing in the machine, or just things are going to happen that are just completely out of your control. And you really just have to like learn how to be okay with the fact that something is going to crash and burn at some point. But you have to know that like, even if it does, everything's going to be all right. Like even if there's a crash and burn, like you're going to figure it out. And if you don't, then it's still going to be okay. Like as long as nobody died. And even in some instances, that could be something that happens, not as it relates directly to Honey Pot. I'm just saying in general, all things are in order. There's all kinds of hard things. It's hard for me to be like, this thing was the hardest thing. Like there's so many things that are hard. It's just how do you handle the hard shit when it comes? That's really the key. And don't let it take you down.
That's good. And I feel like that's something I'm consistently hearing.
That as much as you do your research, consumer research, testing product, everything's not going to stick.
No.
You can sometimes and have the best plans, and those will be the things that end up failing.
You can have the best, most efficient plan. It's never going to execute exactly the way that you planned it. Never. Not ever, ever, ever. You know what I mean? So just like, I don't necessarily try to focus on the outcome. I more so just want to focus on what we can control and what we can't. And if we can't, then we, fuck it. We got to just die to it. You know what I mean? And then there may be things within that we can't control, but what are things that we can learn? So hopefully we have a tiny little more control than we had last time. Sometimes this is just the way that it is.
So speaking on that,
do you feel like there are new challenges that new brands are facing now? And if so, like, or how would you address those challenges if you were launching a new brand today?
First off, Mo, I don't ever want to launch another new brand. Shit. If I do, it won't be about it making money or needing a bunch of customers. It'll be like, I just really want to do this,
One and done.
Y'all. I don't know, man. Like, the internet is weird. Social media has gotten weird. Like, you used to be able to do a lot more things than what you can do now. I think that the way that we launched our brand was very brick and mortar. It was very like, not even brick and mortar. It was very like guerrilla marketing tactics, very tactile, like we did everything on our own. You know what I mean? Which I think personally is still the way to do it. Testing and learning, understanding when something's working and when something's not. I think that the test and learn is really, really important. I think understanding what the market wants and what humans, even bigger than that, what humans want is important. Because sometimes, like we were just talking about, you could think that something is what people want, and then it's the polar opposite. They don't even like it. They don't like how it smells. They don't like how it feels. And you may think that it's the most amazing thing. Well, it's better to fail fast and learn that quickly, right? And start off small than try to take it to some big old mass structured thing. When it comes to the way that like the digital marketing scene has changed so much, right? It's better to spend a tiny little bit of money, understand what's going on, understand which campaigns work, which things don't, what words work, what words don't, so that you can figure out what works and then keep investing in that. You know what I mean? And so, I think that still some of the same things that we did back then are still apply. I just think that it's a different landscape now, but there is more access to things now. There's more access to people. There's more access to conversations. There's more access to investors, even though that's still a finicky situation. Even though there's more access, there still isn't a lot of money going around. You know what I mean? So, especially in the market like this, it's hard to say. Even now, there's so much that I don't even know is going on because I'm so high up in strategy. I don't know what's happening with customer service every day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know every single thing my marketing team is working on anymore. Like, there's so much that I don't know about. So it's hard for me to say how I would do something differently just because of just the transitions that have happened with the growth of my company and with the growth of a team. I probably would still do things very similar to the way that we did them. It's kind of a slow way to go, but I feel like just slow is better,
I like that though. And I think you said a lot of really valuable things there. As you grow and you get bigger, you can't have your hands in everything. And I think a sign of a good leader is a leader who can delegate to someone who knows they are capable and able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to let them do it.
Yeah, because I don't know how to do it.
Right. And I mean, you said in your title earlier, right? You're Chief Innovation Officer. So that is where your secret sauce, if you will, lies in bringing the new product. So you bring someone else in who's going to do the marketing and all of that.
The marketing, the strategy behind marketing. There's so many levels to marketing. There's so many levels to operations, right? Like there's so many levels to so many things. And in the beginning, you do everything, but you're not doing any of it really well. Like I remember when me and you first talked, you were like, B, there's things that I'm about to ask you to do that are almost impossible for you to do, and you were completely right. You didn't know that like we didn't have any money and we didn't know where the fuck anything was going to come from. You didn't know that. I was totally selling you a dream.
And it worked. And we thank God.
Yeah, but I think the art of that too is when you're developing a company from nothing, you have to believe in yourself so much. You just have to know everything's going to be all right. And miraculously, everything is.
It all worked out. So if you could transport yourself back, like B of today, to be in 2013 or 2015, what would you share with your freshly minted entrepreneurial self?
I would have told myself to just get out of my head. Don't let anybody to define who I was as a human being, not as the founder of Honey Pod or anything like that. I was in a bit of a rough place back then, I wasn't really in a relationship that really served me, not for real. I didn't think well of myself. I just wasn't very happy, And I think that if I could go back then, I would tell myself, get out of my head, into my body, and just take care of myself, take care of my mind, take care of my body, And I would say, like, Honey Pot is everything and Honey Pot is not everything. But then again, I'm glad that I can't go back because all things in order, everything that happened needed to happen in order for this version of myself to be where I am and have the gratefulness that I do, that I made it through all the things, But yeah, I would probably say everything I just said to you.
It's like the rough parts make us who we are. The challenges, the missteps that we can see so clearly because hindsight is 2020, but it also very much so guides us and allows us to have the foresight and grounding that we have today, right?
I really honor myself now. I really care about who I share my life with. I have a respect for having peace of mind. I have a deep respect for that. Because when you know what it's like to not have peace in your mind,
You have so much more respect for it when you have.
Yeah, like I've been homeless before a couple times. I know what the value is of having a roof over my head. You understand what I'm saying? So like nothing is above me when it comes to that. If that means scrubbing the toilet or doing whatever I have to do, and that doesn't change because I am the founder of the phenomenon called honeypot. Like that doesn't change. If anything, if shit was to burn down today, guess what? I know how to survive. If I don't know how to do anything else, I know how to survive. I know how to have food, water, and a roof. And I think the same goes for my mental health. That doesn't mean that I don't still have moments and days and struggles and shit. Like that's just normal. I have those just like anybody else. I want to get through those things. I want to be well. I want to be clear,
Know better, do better. So I had one more question, but I realized when you were talking about growth, I'd like you to expand on that a little bit. I find that today, when I talk to companies, many of them are talking about instant growth. Grow as fast as you can, whether it's to sell or whatever the different case is. What was your experience? You said a little bit that growth was slow for you, but that's what you prefer. Can you talk a little bit about why you feel that was the right path for you? And if you have any cautions towards fast growth or challenges that come with slow growth, if you could just talk about that, that'd be great.
I think that when it comes to like growth and building a business that's going to like stand the test of time, which, what does that shit even mean, right? But like, I think that growing slow, but not a snail's pace, kind of like medium slow, where you're growing and you're figuring out and you're in it and you're paying attention and you're like, constantly iterating and learning and growing. And like, I don't believe in the model of raise millions of dollars and then buy your customers. I don't believe in that. I believe in let your business build and actually acquire customers organically, build a brand organically, because that's real. Those customers aren't really artificial. Those customers are real, So I believe in that narrative, but I also believe in while you're in that narrative to really make that narrative work for you. But I think that lean operations is the way to go. We're in an interesting time right now, right? SBVB, some of the biggest tech companies really experience a huge downfall from that, and when you look at the companies that can go out and raise zillions of dollars and have these like unrealistic valuations and, it's kind of like art. My partner is an artist and he might get offers for people to buy his work at like exorbitant prices. And he has to sometimes turn that down because it's like, if I can't maintain that price, then my price goes down. And the business game is similar. If you raise zillions of dollars, call it 10, $20 million on, 200, $300 billion valuations, and you can't maintain that growth and maintain it organically and figure out how you're going to be profitable. It used to be that people just focused on the top line. So they just put all their intention up there, just grow fast, get your customers, have direct to consumer, all the things. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that model, right? Because that model works for some people. I just don't believe in that model, right? I believe in the model of I want real customers, real humans, right? Who actually want to buy my products and who want to come back every month and who I don't have to spend zillions of dollars to acquire, So I think that I'm more of a lean operation person. And my brother really made me that way. Back in the day, I didn't necessarily understand the value of that, but I understand it now, because there's a lot of companies that are experiencing some really hard stuff because they went the other way. They grew fast. They raised a bunch of money. They got a big valuation. And now the valuation and the way that they grew, it's not mathing. The math ain't mathing. And so, it's better for you to be slow and to understand, because when it comes to a company, like it takes the time it takes. I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years. That's just how long it takes. It's like driving from New York to California. The shit takes a couple days, you know? Honestly, like, you just gonna have to thug that out. You can go all the way through, but it's gonna take the amount of hours that it takes. And I think that when it comes to business, it's the same thing. Especially if you want it to be healthy. What is the rush for? You know? Because if the rush is for you to just hurry up and make some money, then the business is all about money. And businesses can't be all about money because you have, in order to make money, you have to serve humans. And if you're going to serve humans, then you should do that right. You know what I mean? So.
That's good. You dropping some wisdom.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that. So just one last question. We'll wrap. You know, I really create this podcast because I think there are a lot of resources that are out there, but there's a lot for early stage founders that they don't necessarily know, because we love to talk about the success stories, but we don't necessarily talk as much about the challenges and about what things folks needed to go through or what resources they used or leveraged to help them get to where they are. So with that said, do you have any resources that you like to go to that are low cost or free, or even if they do cost money, that you're like, I would use this. I use this every day, or this is super helpful for me as a business owner. Please share your knowledge.
I think in the beginning, you know, we use things like Fiverr, and like we went to like resources where it was like really cheap to get somebody to come in and like design something. You know, I think asking questions and actually being open to taking people's advice, and not necessarily, this is like very practical, definitely doesn't cost money, but like trying not to be hard on yourself and trying not to like compare yourself to other people and what they're doing and what they're experiencing and how much money they're raising and what their valuations are and how much shelf space that they're getting. And, you know, what if I go out in the market and somebody copies me? And like, you know, kind of like minding your own business is free. That doesn't mean you're not paying attention, but like, don't worry so much. Like, keep an eye so that you can understand what your comrades or competitors are doing. Like, that's one thing, but like, try not to compare yourself, which I've been there. I've compared before. It really doesn't do anything for you, you know? But I think, you know, there's more podcasts now than ever. There's access to people on LinkedIn, like literally, Mo, like, could you imagine, like, back in 2016, like, I could have just went to LinkedIn and looked you up and just sent you a freaking message. You know what I'm saying? And been like, yo, he sent me an address. I want to send you some products. Like, you know, there's more access now than ever to reach people. You know, you can hit them up on IG. You can hit them up on social media. Like, understanding that, like, literally today that the world is at your fingertips. And I think another thing that I would say, which is actually a little contrary to what you asked, is like being responsible with social media, you know, and being responsible with like, you know, like, while I just said that you can reach out to these people, also like understanding that these people are people, you know, and understanding there's a limit to, you know, don't hit somebody up every single day, right? Like, you know, if you hit them up now, then maybe hit them up like 6 months from now, you know, so like, don't feel like you got to reach out every single day to get, you know, don't be annoying. So there's also like a fine line of like figuring out how to communicate and how to reach out, but also understanding like that you don't need to learn yourself to death, you know, before you actually go out and get started. I feel like people are like, they go to all these talks and networks and panels and, you know, and like, they feel like they need a mentor and they do this and they do that. And I'm not saying you don't, but you actually don't need one in order to do what you want to do. Like, understand that you can do what you want to do. Like, the only thing that's stopping you is you, you know? So, yeah.
I love that. What a great way to end.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time. I know you are very busy, so thank you so much. You know, this is super special to me, especially just considering our initial connection. I always love to see what the company is doing. And so
it's just great to be able to share your story and see what you all are continuing to do.
Thank you, Lovey. We wouldn't be here without you. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you again to B for joining me on the podcast today. It is so awesome for me to see how far this brand has come from when I first sent that intro email to B in 2015. I also love that B was open enough to be personal and to share that business is very much connected to our own ability to believe in ourselves and to have the right people supporting us. And make no mistake, as a founder, you are taking on a lot. And make sure that you have the right folks that are supporting you so you can continue to do what you're doing. And hopefully you are able to succeed and thrive. Thank you again, as always, for listening. And if you like this episode, please share it with a friend or colleague, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.